let's obviously talk about. We have to mention the one and only Katt Williams. Katt Williams had probably one of the best interviews I've seen in the last 18 months. It will go down for sure as the best interview of this year, unless there's some Kanye interview on, the Shay, what you call it, the Uncle Shannon Sharp show. I forgot, I think it's called Shay Williams. I forgot what the fucking show, the actual show is called, but Shannon Sharp show. Maybe Kanye will go on there and maybe trump this. But so far, this might end up being one of the greatest interviews of all time because Katt Williams laid it bare. Katt Williams laid it bare in all ways, shapes, and sizes. And I feel like this interview is going to go down in history. And it's so amazing to hear him talk the way he did, so honestly about the industry and kind of be honest about the things that go on. And I think this sort of like freedom, this sort of ability to sort of like speak truth to power or just speak the truth in general is something that he is afforded to do because he's kind of independent. He moves to the beat of his own drum. He's got his own flipping fan base that are fucking holding him down. And the fact that he kind of makes his own money is kind of out of the system. There's part of this interviews that kind of make it feel like he's a little bit bitter. He's a bit of a hater, but I think most of the things that he says come from a good place. It's really difficult, I feel like, if you're in an industry that's highly competitive and you don't like what's happening in there and you want to speak against it, it's ultra hard not to come across a little bit bitter. It's ultra hard not to come across like you're hating, even though you're speaking your truth. So I feel like he kind of pushes that line a little bit. But for the most part, I feel like it's incredibly refreshing to hear him say that, because I feel like for whatever reason, people that, people that get a certain amount of wealth or fame, they seem to have a resistance, or they seem to be very resistant to saying how they actually feel, or actually talking about things that actually affect them, or speaking the truth in any way, shape or form. If anything, the more famous, the more rich they become, they tend to kind of go into themselves. They tend to kind of limit what they're saying. They tend to kind of dim their voice, dim their star, because they don't want to bring too much attention to themselves and stuff. So it's really always the opposite. When I always thought, if you get the amount, if you're able to be somebody like a Katt Williams, like a legend in the industry, you're able to, basically accumulate the amount of money he has over the years, you should probably owe it to yourself to actually act like you got fuck you money, because no one can really cancel you. You've got a fan base that is loyal to you, and you're always going to have the ability to make money as long as you can flip and get on stage. That's the main thing. And I've always thought it's a shame when people on that position don't take that opportunity or don't use that privilege to speak truth. Because if you're not going to speak truth when you have the ability not to get cancelled and you're protected, then when are you ever going to speak truth, So it's great to hear him speak the way he did. So I'm going to play a collection of clips here that I've took, obviously, from social media and from the YouTube interview. You guys can check it out. You know where to find it. Just type it on YouTube, Katt Williams interview, and it'll be the first one that pops up. Allegedly, it's a part 1. There's another part coming out also. I'm not really sure how long it is, but it's an amazing interview. I'll play a selection of clips, and then, of course, I'll comment on them as we continue. But it's an incredible interview throughout. Definitely watch the whole thing. I did, and I absolutely loved it. So let's play the first clip. This one's about most comedians need to get booed, and this could definitely apply to the one and only Brendan Schaub, who I usually cover on the Random Show. This sort of ideology or this sort of idea could definitely be applied to him, because I feel like a lot of those comedians have really suffered, because for the most part they have like a built-in audience on their podcast that doesn't really, that just loves them for who they are. So maybe a little bit of like harsh realities of what regular people kind of think of them might actually improve their comedy. But less about me, let's hear what he has to say about this.
Have you ever been booed, Katt?
Yes. Yeah. I have.
What was that feeling like? Did it like want to give up? Because when you have, I don't know how early it was in your career. Obviously, it hadn't been I don't think it's in the last decade, because you've been immaculate.
Have you ever dropped a pass?
I have. I've been booed too.
The little segment between everything is fine and I got it, and then you noticing where it is now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's that. The thing about as a comedian, the audience's opinion is the only opinion that matters, not you, the writer, not none of that. And so I don't think any comedian has ever been booed unnecessarily either.
That is a brilliant way to look at things, right? The audience is always right. The audience is always king. And that is how it should always apply. But I feel like nowadays stand-up comedians sometimes say this, but I don't think they believe it. I don't think they actually believe the audience is king. I think some of them actually, through whatever, this is a weird thing to say, but I think a lot of them sometimes end up despising their audience. I also see it sometimes in the DJ scene. You end up seeing DJs who get to a level of fame where they end up really despising their audience. They end up despising their fan base. And some of it might have to do with this really strange, like kind of flipping their head, where they start to feel like the audience is sort of holding them by ransom. It's holding them at ransom. The audience is the one that's forcing them to do these shows, that's making them have this crazy schedule where they can't sleep, where they can't stay in one place, where they don't see their family, where they miss their loved ones. Maybe that's part of it, but you see a lot of it happening. They start to kind of build almost a sense of contempt for the audience. Or they have this other thing where they feel like if you're not laughing, if you're not enjoying a show, that you don't get it, right? My audience is dumb, like basically chastising them in a way. It's a very strange thing. You see a lot with the celebrities nowadays or performers nowadays. There's this really strange, fraught, almost confrontational relationship with the fans where you love them because obviously they afforded you, they've given you this life that you've always wanted, but then you also maybe hate them because they are then such big fans that they always demand more of you, which is then taking you away from the things that you actually want to do. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's a strange thing to say, but I think in general, I would love to see more of this mindset with artists in general, where it's always fan service. And I think it's strange because me myself, when I come to like doing art or whatever content I'm doing, I always feel like I do a lot of it for myself. Like I always think to myself, hey, how would I feel like if I was randomly on YouTube and I stumbled on this guy who was talking about art, who was talking about shoes, DJing, nightclubs, who was talking about design, fashion, then he started speaking about comedy and shit. I'd be interested, you know what I mean? So I do it kind of for myself, but I also have to kind of keep in mind that I'm also doing it for an audience, and I want to make sure that they're having a fun time while they're watching it, because there's nothing worse than watching somebody who's sort of wasting your time, you know? So you kind of have to, it's a balance between like servicing yourself and making yourself feel good, making sure that you feel good at the work you're doing, but also keeping in mind that the fans are always king. The customers are always the king. They're the ones that you always kind of have to answer to. And I think I've always had that mindset. This is weird to say, but I think most of it has come because of my kind of early experience in working in the service industry, working in pubs, working in bars, working in fucking retail stores. That was when I always was obviously subservient and serving people and making sure that they had a good experience, that they had good service, that they were happy with the product they were given. And that was a really big thing that I kind of learned, and something, and again, it was also beneficial when I worked in retail. I worked with people who really took their job seriously, even though it was a job that people kind of felt like was beneath people or was a little bit shit. I worked with managers and with, you know, sales assistants who actually loved selling. They loved they loved, you know, talking to customers. They love fucking sharing their knowledge. They love just shooting the shit with random people. And that makes you appreciate that kind of, you know, that relationship with the customer type of thing. And you don't see a lot of it nowadays, unfortunately. Let's continue.
They deserve it.
Oh yeah. I'm saying what do they say when a guy shoots the air ball in the NBA? They say air ball to make sure everybody knows. But again, he still got to get back on D.
Right.
Like the game didn't end. He don't get to throw his hands up and sulk.
Right.
That's supposed to be used as a learning experience. Most comedians don't get booed enough.
Exactly. Very true.
I mean,
and nowadays, this is a very good point, because nowadays it's even more so. Most comedians don't get booed enough nowadays, more so, because a lot of comedians, or artists in general, forget comedians, think of all artists. Now most artists have their own platforms, whether it's a social media feed, whether it's a podcast like mine, whether it's a YouTube channel, whether it's whatever it may be. They have a place where most of their fans can talk to them, communicate to them, or see their art. So if anything, you can build a fan base of people who just like you for you. And I remember one time Theo Von saying it, and I think he said it around the time that he joined King and the Sting, and it was kind of relating to Brendan. I think he was thinking out aloud and kind of trying to wrap his head around how Brendan had a fan base. And then I think he realized in real time, oh, people just like him for him. They just want to see him. They just want to be in his presence. It's not because they think he's super funny. It's not because they think his jokes are amazing on stage. They just like him for him. And I think a lot of that happens with a lot of comedians nowadays, where they have a fan base that comes out to see them just because they like them from podcasts, they like them from appearing on other podcasts, they just like their personality, and it has less to do about their fucking comedy. So if anything, it doesn't help them in terms of getting funnier, because they have their own fans coming to their shows, not people that don't actually give a shit about them. So they don't actually learn what jokes are funny or not, because their own fans laugh at everything they fucking do. They gag, you know what I mean? They're bending over backwards just, you know, at mannerisms and stuff. So that's probably the main reason why you're seeing this strange situation in comedy now, where you have people who are super famous, but the comedy doesn't match the level of fame they have, you know, because they obviously play to the home crowd for the most part. That's the issue I'm seeing nowadays.
This is how you end up with a Michael Blackson who's a real African doing a fake African accent. Okay, this guy is mad at me. All I did was give him the best advice of his life. Remember, he was wearing dirty dashikis. And I told him he needed to dress to be in the position that he's trying to say that he's in. And if you're the African king of comedy, sir, there's actually comedians in Africa doing comedy. If you're going to say that, you got to go to Africa and get a school, dude. Everybody you got to put in some work. And these guys, they take my advice. They change their whole persona. And then they hate me for it.
He's so right, though, about the Michael Blackson thing. I didn't think about that, but that's such an astute observation. He's a real African that puts on a fake African accent to be funny. It's quite funny, then. A real African that puts on a fake African accent to try and be funny, which is odd, because you'd imagine, you know, just lean into who you actually are, and that might should be the funny thing. I've always thought the idea that Rogan says about, oh, there's only 1,000 really true comedians out there. And I find it interesting how whenever he says the 1,000 comedians, the Navy SEALs of comedians, the top level comedians, they all happen to be his friends. And they all happen to be people from English speaking countries. He never really includes or counts people around the world. For some reason, you know, people, especially happens here in the UK too, people from North America, people from, you know, parts of the UK, they just think the other parts of the world don't exist. If there's a really big comedian in the Philippines, that person doesn't count because you don't understand their language. Same with if there's a really big comedian in fucking Brazil or in Botswana or something, they don't include them. So they always refer to themselves as the best comedian in the world. But it's like, how can you be the best comedian in the world if you don't know who comedians are outside of fucking North America or outside of English speaking countries? That's not the world. Just because you are, you know, and especially if all of the comedians that you think are good are the ones that come on your show or the ones that you see in the same venues that you play at, how about everybody else that's playing in venues that you haven't heard of or are unknown in that? Do they not count? Do they not matter?
And generally, I'm just too big to comment or make a statement about it or do a live or any of that. But when it gets to be a whole grouping of these guys, I got to come and talk to Shannon.
And I really do love that. I love the fact that he said it because, like I said, I think it's really difficult in his position to say what he says without sounding like a hater. That's the really sad part about it. Even though he said a lot of good things, there's a lot of pushback out there because, you know, he's got a prominent voice. He's very popular. He's probably the most well-loved comedian on social media because I feel like a lot of stand-up comedians divide opinion. But I feel like Katt Williams has this sort of like lore, has this sort of like legend around him that most people love him for. And I feel like that's the main thing that I've always kind of appreciated about the guy. Next clip here I'm going to play is Katt Williams on being called gay after he roasted Wanda Smith. I'm sure most of you guys know about the legendary back and forth he had with the radio presenter Wanda Smith, but he speaks about the the fallout of that interview, and I think it's really, really incredible. And I obviously played a clip of his back and forth with Wanda Smith also. Let's play the clip now so you can hear it. Bear with me a second as I get it up on here, and then we can continue.
It's only 5 or 6 different types of people, and you're going to see them everywhere that you go. And all my enemies all look the same in the eyes, whether it's Faison, Wanda, Aries Spears, they all look like...
Man, what you got to
They all look the same in the eyes. You know what that means? They've all got that kind of those dark patches around their eyes. Phase on. They all look the same around the eyes. They've all got raccoon eyes. That's basically what he's saying. Yo, Katt Williams is so rude. He's so fucking mean. You don't want to get in a war of words with this guy because he will really make you. He will really, really, really break your heart. He'll really make you cry. He's so fucking mean, honestly. Let's go to the start again. Oh.
Life is only 5 or 6 different types of people, and you gonna see them everywhere that you go. And all my enemies all look the same in the eyes, whether it's Faison, Wanda, Aries, Spears, they all look like...
Man, what you got against Wanda Sykes? You think I don't remember that?
Sir, Wanda Sykes and Wanda Smith are 2 separate people.
I mean, Wanda Smith.
And I had only said one name, sir.
Wanda Sykes
I'm
is amazing. I love Wanda.
And I agree.
I love Wanda. That's my girl. But I remember on the radio, you went on a radio interview. If I'm not mistaken, that's in Atlanta.
Right.
And you came on there with seemingly good intentions. And she attacked you.
It wasn't just that part. It was the fact that before I go in there, she has a conversation about, okay, now, I just want to talk to you because you just won an Emmy for the city of Atlanta, and this is in Atlanta, and they just want to hear about the Emmy and hear from you and to thank you for what you did putting the city on.
Right. Okay.
And we won't talk about your kids. We won't talk about jail, no cases. We ain't going to talk about none of that.
Right.
And immediately gets in there and goes the opposite way. You can't flip up on me because you're an inferior comedian. I'm going to destroy you, and I'm never going to call you out of your name. I'm never going to say anything disrespectful to people that look like you. It's a very thin line. I got a call, but this lady is trying to embarrass me in front of a largely homosexual fan base. That's why she got canceled. Gay people don't take it kindly that you would, as a derogatory, call me gay. Gay people don't feel like it's derogatory.
And you knew she was losing the moment she did that. The moment she went for that insult, you knew she lost already before it started. It's similar to when you're having an argument with somebody and they start mentioning money, or they start mentioning how many girls they fucked, right? How many chicks you fucked, as fucking Brendan would say. That's when you know you've already lost. When you start mentioning money and women, you've already lost. If you can't just insult the person bar for bar, word for word, then you've already lost when you start aiming for money, or when you start talking about their sexuality, especially if it's incorrect. Even if it's true. Telling somebody that they're gay or calling them a bunch of sticks, how is that an insult if I actually am one? You know, why would I be offended if I am one? You know what I mean? It's such a strange defense, but it definitely shows that you're losing.
So why are you trying to shame me with something in a community I don't even belong in? There's no gay people saying I belong over there or been over there.
You did,
but I have no hatred of over there, and how dare you?
You did a number on it, though.
Hey.
You did a number on it. That's legendary.
No, you either believe in karma or you don't. Because
I love that line. You either believe in karma or you don't. Personally, I don't. I feel like bad people get away with bad things all the time. I feel like the worst people sometimes sleep the best. They sleep like absolute babies. They have no stresses in the world. They go through life essentially skipping down the street like they're playing fucking hopscotch with not a care or a worry in mind at all whatsoever. So the idea of karma, I feel like, is a little bit, it's almost self-serving. It's almost like a weird kind of like way that we try to soothe ourselves into believing that there is some sort of like, you know, there's some sort of like moral justice system thing that exists out there, and it isn't. The only justice system that exists are in the courts. There is no other, you know, everything else is just coincidental. I don't think actual karma exists, personally, for me, but again, I could be wrong.
I didn't even know any of the stuff that she had done to my fellow comedians until afterwards. I just know that it was a setup.
Right.
And remember, they tried to kill me this same weekend. Not in jokes, with a real gun in my real face on real camera. Understand I'm losing my life for participating in something that goes along with my job. Like, it's 2 comedians, what do you mean? And the world was okay with it because it was me. Had that happened to anyone else, the world went crazy when Will smacked Chris. This is a person pulling a whole gun on a comedian in the confines of their job. It's really a weird situation.
So obviously, most of you guys know, so I'm going to play it anyway because it's one of the most legendary clips anyway, of fucking Katt Williams destroying Rhonda Smith on her fucking radio show. Oh, sorry, Wanda Smith. Most of you have probably seen it. If you haven't already, sit back and enjoy because this is legitimately one of the best takedowns of all time. I swear to God, one of the best takedowns of all time. Listen to Katt Williams destroy this woman.
That joint was.
My hair is 19 inches long and I have no perm.
You don't?
Oops.
Oh, that's not a perm.
No, it is not. Nice lady.
That's natural.
Come run one of your gnarled
Well,
fingers.
come here.
While you on air,
Come
so
on.
they can hear you live.
Come on. Let me come over here.
No. That's not how that works.
Oh, okay. Well, then stay over there.
Don't worry, ain't nobody putting their hands through yours.
That's right. They don't have to. I don't want them to. Get on out of here. You okay? You okay?
Only one of our hands moving while we talk.
Are you all right this morning? Are you okay this
Greg
morning?
Grant, Atlanta Comedy.
Tell Wanda to take off them headphones and that wig.
And make sure.
Red Fox makes it so worse. Red Fox, a comedian, he makes it so much worse. The way he's laughing, I always remember he's the one that makes it worse. And that always happens. Whenever someone's getting ripped, it's less about what the person says. It's mostly about the people around you that are laughing. And Red Fox, the comedian, is absolutely making it so much worse the way he's laughing. He is absolutely dying at Katt Williams destroying this woman, and he can't help himself. He makes it so much worse. I swear to God.
That wig and that headphones
And take
come
off
together.
them old ass clothes you got on. How about that? Yeah, they're old.
Versace, yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It
She
says
said,
Versace.
I want to apologize to the people at Versace Collection. This is your 2019 summer line that hasn't come out.
But you had to open it up and show us it was Versace. I wanted to.
No, I didn't have to open it up. These people are on radio. They can't see anything.
Yeah, but you opened it up so we could see it.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, happy
whatever
for you.
stories for the Black Lane Bryant.
That's right. Very proud.
Okay, let's
Very
play some
proud.
music real quick if we can. We going to a break real quick?
Very
All right, cool. We go to a break.
Shout outs to Forever 21
Yeah.
Necklace Collection.
That's right. Shout out.
They don't remember me for wilding out, right? I'm not the right one to Jones on.
Get this inmate out of here.
If you can't get your blood pressure down, you can't call me down.
Whatever, little mama.
If your cholesterol is 600,
Whatever, little mama.
I'm Lil Mama's baby daddy.
No, you little mama.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey,
And what
girl.
are you, girl? You probably shouldn't talk about sizes.
No, that's okay.
You big on the radio.
That's right. And you're big
Turn
in
it
prison.
down.
And you're
yes,
big
ma'am.
in prison.
I've never been to prison.
You have
19
several
felonies,
times.
no convictions.
Yeah,
Knock it
yeah.
off. Prison
Okay.
and jail aren't the same. No.
Okay.
No.
Calm
No.
down, calm down.
Only one of us has $12
Calm
worth
down.
of jewelry on. No.
No, $12.
No. That all is available.
$12,
If you want to have Wanda's jewelry, please go to Citgo or Quick Trip at any point. If you buy 2 packs of Newport 100s, they will give you everything Wanda has on right now.
Honestly, legitimately one of the greatest takedowns of all fucking time. Legitimately, it doesn't stop. If you can't take down your cholesterol, you can't take me down. Like, are you serious? Come run your gnarled fingers through my 19-inch hair. That's all mine. Like, oh my God. Thank you to the guys at Versace for their new collection that's not in stores yet. You shop at Forever 21. Oh God Almighty, man! Absolute Katt Williams, what an absolute legend! Absolutely love that evisceration from Katt Williams. Big up Katt. Moving on from that one, we've got this clip as well from Katt Williams talking about how he was put off from drugs. Now, Katt Williams maintained throughout this interview that he's never been on hard drugs. I guess maybe because of his lifestyle, because of his rock star, larger than life personality, because of some of the videos that people have seen of him out there turning up and stuff, people just assumed he was on stuff. But I guess he's saying he's never done any hard drugs. Now, you have to be the judge yourself of what you believe or not. Personally, for me, I feel like there's no reason to lie, right? He speaks a lot of shit. He talks a lot of shit anyway. So I just don't see why he would lie about drugs. You know, it sounds like a weird thing to sort of suddenly be really coy about. So I'm leading to believe him. I think there are some people who just look like they're on drugs, but they don't actually do anything. And I think, unfortunately, he just has that he has that deposition about him, right? He kind of carries himself in a certain way when people think he's on drugs, but he's never actually on drugs. And I think this story about him is really cool, about how he says he got put off from drugs. So let's hear him kind of speak about this, and then you guys can make up your minds, the listeners, as to whether or not you believe Katt Williams that he hasn't done any hard drugs ever in his life, because I'm not too sure if I believe it, but let's see what you guys think.
I've heard you were homeless, and somebody else told the story, said they were homeless, and you said they hijacked your story. Now I don't.
At 13, I shouldn't have to tell you I'm homeless. I'm in Miami, Florida. I have no family members in Florida. I couldn't buy a house if I wanted to. I couldn't get an apartment if I wanted to. I don't have a credit history. Like, this is not a stretch for me to say that I'm homeless. I'm living in a park in Coconut Grove. The park still exists to this day. For 8 hours a day, I would get up and go to the library and study for 8 hours a day to increase my education. And then I would leave out of there and go to the marina and steal car radios and make $2,000 almost daily. Like, I had a routine.
So you really could have played that Santa old thief and Santa Claus. You could have played it.
No, the Santa Claus wasn't a thief. The Santa Claus, you can't tell me. I read the script. Ricky Smiley told you he didn't read the script.
The constant disses of fucking Ricky Smiley is so good. He fucking hates Ricky Smiley. He hates Steve Harvey and Kevin Hart so much. I fucking love it. I don't know. It's just refreshing to see somebody hate, like, out in the open, especially somebody successful, because people always say the haters are like basement dwellers like myself, right? People that live in their parents' basement, covered in Cheeto dust, you know, neck beards, virgins, incels. That's who people think are haters. But it's nice when you hear somebody hating who's actually successful, because it comes from a real place, because, you know, they've got their own success, but, you know, you're allowed to just hate other peers that you have, because it's just pure hate. Like, I just don't like what you do. I think you're overrated. I don't think you're that good. It's really kind of cool.
The Santa Claus was a crackhead. He just had that outfit on. That's what I couldn't have played.
Okay.
Like, I couldn't have played a black guy that got raped in the bathroom.
Right. So at any point in time, you're like, man, I made a mistake, man. I should have stayed my butt in Ohio, man, because this ain't what I signed up for.
I didn't experience anything once I left home that I hadn't signed up for. If anything, it saved my life. Me being homeless for that small period of time allowed me to see all of the people that were in that situation, and to see that these were lawyers and doctors and teachers, and that these people were white and black and Asian and Indian. And the only thing that all of these homeless people had in common was, they made a bad decision and aligned themselves with drugs.
And that's the truth. That's the real truth. I remember when I went to work at a soup kitchen when I was like, I don't know, what was I? I must have been like 17 or something. And that was another big wake up call, because I guess when I lived in the hood, like, for some reason, I guess we just had, maybe it's just the area that I live in, there was predominantly black, obviously with some white people, but you didn't really get to see the scope of poverty. You just saw it just through one lens, and you just saw it through the people that you're around. And most likely when I was that age, all you saw was your experience. All you knew was how bad you were suffering, how bad you were struggling. You didn't have the cool trainers. You couldn't afford this. You had to eat the free school meals, all this sort of shit, right? And you couldn't see past your own struggle. The moment I worked in that soup kitchen for that one summer, and you see the amount of people that come to soup kitchens, which is a really scary situation about it, because you think to yourself immediately, when I was working in a soup kitchen, I was like, wow, if this place wasn't here, what would happen then? If this soup kitchen didn't exist, where would these people go to have a hot meal? Where would they go to have some food? Where would they actually go? That was a real wake-up call that I had. And I remember also seeing, like Katt Williams said, all types of people coming into a soup kitchen. Not just people that were homeless, not just people that were down bad, not just people that were poor, not just people that were ever that, all types of people that legitimately looked like they came from work. People that came from work, legitimately people that literally came from work were actually there. It's absolutely crazy to see it, that people that were struggling look like everybody that you see regular walking on the street that just needed a hot meal. And it kind of really did humble me and allowed me to see past my own struggle and to see that, you know, even though I was going through a bad situation or my family weren't in the best shape, that there were people out there actually suffering way worse and just getting on with it. They weren't feeling bad about themselves. They weren't kicking themselves. You know what I mean? They weren't doing woe is me things. They weren't crying and complaining. They were just trying to make the most of it. And that was really cool to see. I'm not going to lie. It was really eye-opening and refreshing to see. And it really does make you, I wouldn't say if it humbles you. It just kind of makes you realize just how big of a scope, just how different things are outside of your own purview. And it's not just all about you. And again, when you're that age and you're 17, 18 and stuff, you kind of you're a bit self-absorbed and warped in your own thing anyway.
And I interviewed them all. What drug? What? And guess what, Shannon? Nobody had a great story. Nobody had a great story of what meth had done for them, what crack had done for them, what cocaine had done for them, what heroin had done for them, what speed had done for them. Nobody had them stories. Everybody's story was, I had my life together. And then I decided to do this dumb thing. And I lost my wife, I lost my house, I lost my cars, I lost my reputation, and I'm now out here sucking penis in the woods.
I like how you ended that sincere moment with that fucking endo. Now I'm out here sucking penis in the woods. Bloody hell, man. Honestly, he's really... And you know what's really funny about that? It's like, as Uche says, it be like that sometimes. That's really the harsh reality of it. It's funny because it's actually true. That's how it is. You end up getting yourself in a spiral where you're addicted to drugs, where you're fucking, in a self-destructive path. And it ends up being a situation where you go from having a couple of bumps, having a couple of tabs, a couple of pills, and then suddenly you're on all fours in some, derelict housing project somewhere, screaming somebody's name. That's how dark it can get very, very quickly. So big up Katt Williams for sharing that.
What? Talk about scared straight. You ain't got to worry about me. If it ain't weed or nicotine, you won't see me touching it. I don't want no parts. I done seen what these things can do to people. Anything that take over your free will is the devil.
And he's right about that. He's fucking right about that. He really is. Big up everyone in the stream chat. Appreciate you for tuning in as well. Thank you for being here. Make sure you like the stream if you're enjoying what you see and you're hearing. Big up who I'm seeing here. Big up Half Moon Bardo. Big up you from the gym. Big up also Justin Holtman. Big up you. Helps you realize stuff can get worse. Exactly. And big up everybody else I'm seeing here in the chat. Thank you so much for hanging. It really is true about what he's saying about drugs, but I really do wish, this is maybe my my fucking naive wanting of a utopia type of thing, but I wish we could live in a society where a lot of people could have a handle on their drugs and their booze. I wish we had a more grown-up approach to drugs and alcohol in general. I wish grown-ups could realize when it's not suiting them and just stop. Obviously addiction exists, we all know this. But I wish there was an ability for people to be comfortable enough and okay enough to just stop and not continue if it didn't serve them, to maybe have one drink and decide, you know what, I've had enough, I'm going home, to maybe have a couple of drugs and then decide, you know what, I'm done. But for some reason, I feel like we have systems in place, we have societal pressures that make that almost impossible. I think of the UK as a good example. When I was, before the pandemic, before the world went to shit and before we turned into mostly a working from home world, that's what mostly I do. I used to always go to the office, and I used to go to an office that I would work in every day, Monday to Friday, and the work culture in my office and the work culture around the offices I worked in, because I used to work for a startup, I used to work for a few other companies too, but mostly I'd work in areas that were kind of like the London version of Silicon Valley. So there'd be different companies and different working places all around there. There'll be places to go and eat, places to go and drink, and whatever it may be. So there was a real collective sort of like work life culture around there, where most of the time throughout the week, especially from Wednesday, most people will already be in a pub in the bars after work. as soon as you finish work, whether it's at 5, half 5, 6 or 7, the first thing people did from Wednesday was go straight to flipping the pubs and the bars. That's the first thing they would do, especially if it was a tough week, especially if you had a couple of meetings at work, especially if maybe you had a bad, fucking review or something. The first thing people would do to comfort themselves was go to the fucking pub. If you went to catch up with a friend that worked in another workplace, you'd meet them at a pub or a bar or restaurant. So you would start to booze from Wednesday onwards. And then to make matters worse, on the weekend, especially towards the fucking payday, usually was the time where people will start picking up drugs and start to turn the after work drinks into an occasion to get a bit loosey-goosey, because most of the time, if you were older and you had a family, by this time Saturday comes around, you're hanging out with your family. So the only time you really have to be free to do all your adult activities and hang out with people like-minded and similar age was during the week. So you would spend the entire week from Wednesday to Friday getting boozed up, drinking a bunch, and maybe doing a lot of drugs. So you ended up doing way more and drinking way more than you would do if you weren't working in an office with that sort of toxic culture. So even though I wish we had a bit more of a grown-up handle on drugs and alcohol, and we could be a little bit more responsible with it, because I feel like there should be more encouragement of people, and that it should be more encouraged for people to handle their vices. That should be encouraged more. Instead of just abstinence, there should be more encouragement of like, hey, handle your vices. Don't let them take over you. Don't let them destroy you. You always be in control. That should be a thing people should strive for. Like being able to be a good drunk, being able to be a good, drug person, whatever it may be. That should actually exist, but it doesn't. People always, there's always just on or off. It's always like sobriety or fucking boozing it up. There is no middle ground, unfortunately. And I feel like sometimes life gets the better of you, situations get the better of you, and then you end up going down this bad path. That's the really sad thing about these situations that lead people into these destructive paths, really. And I wish we just had a bit more of a, especially in the UK, wish we had just a bit more of a grown-up conversation around it and people took more responsibility, but it just doesn't exist. People just are just too loose. They're too crazy, and things just go all over the place. That's the only really wild thing that I fucking hate about it. But I don't know. There is no way to fix it. Unfortunately, like I said, I think I've met many people in my work life career who've become addicts just because of work, really. Not because of any, thing that they've done themselves, but mostly because of just the pressure of work. You have a stressful week. The first thing you do is grab a drink, and all of a sudden you start becoming the person that can't wake up without a drink, that can't function with one, that can't be in such situations without one, and all of a sudden you're dependent. It starts off very slow, then it just builds up very quickly. So it's really unfortunate that happens, and that life basically pushes people in certain directions. Again, kind of like Rambo, right? Rambo First Blood. You get provoked, you get pushed, you get backed into a corner, and you feel like the only thing you need to do to get out of that corner is to fight back. But sometimes fighting back might lead you into more trouble and might make the problem far worse than what it was in the beginning, So it's sad. But then you also don't want to surrender, because if you surrender, you might die. Man. But big up Katt Williams. Absolutely impressive, smart, clocked on guy. I fucking love it. Let's play a couple more Katt Williams clips here. We got this clip here. Let's play this. Let's play this clip. We have to play this clip. Katt Williams legit wants to fight Cedric the Entertainer. Let's play this one. This is a really funny one as well. Oh, I fucking love Katt Williams. Big up Katt Williams. What a fucking legend. So let's play this as well. Let's get the sound up. Bear with me a second as I get it up on here.
Curry had already helped me work on this joke because I thought it was good because I was getting a standing ovation on it. He had me go back in the lab and help me craft it to be an even more powerful joke. So this is not just a random joke. This is my very best joke, and it's my last joke, and it's my closing joke.
Okay.
1998... I'm doing this joke. It's on Comic View. Cedric comes to the Comedy Store. He watches me in the audience. He comes backstage. He tells me what a great job I did and how much he loves the joke. 2 years later, he's doing that as his last joke on the Kings of Comedy. And he's doing it verbatim. He's just changed my car into a spaceship.
Jesus Christ.
Him and Steve had already apologized for me, so I gave him a pass for a decade. Why would you sit here and be like, I saw Katt 30 times, and Katt didn't do, as I stand before you, Shannon. I would have bust Cedric's stomach. There was nothing that would have kept me from one of these in that patch right there. Like, are you kidding me?
I love it. I would have busted him in the stomach. But I love how honest he is about it, man. I love the fact that he still gets under his fucking skin that Cedric stole his joke from all those years ago. Again, proof that he's a fucking true comedian at heart. So let's see. Let's see if we think Cedric the Entertainer stole Katt Williams' joke. First, we've got Katt Williams' joke, right? Let's hear the similarities. This is Katt Williams' joke that Cedric Entertainer stole. Let's hear Katt Williams' version of it first, and then we're going to play Cedric's version of it as well.
You had your car radio up so loud that you couldn't hear the damn thing when it cut off. It looked like this. You flossing in a 6-shift convertible.
So that's Katt Williams' version of the joke, right? Let's see Cedric Entertainer version of the joke. And again, that's what physical comedy looks like. Unlike fucking Brian Callen, who just stands there with his legs wide. That's what actual physical comedy looks like. He's making the whole entire audience die with laughing by just mimicking himself, trying to start up his car and pushing it down the fucking street. That's actual real physical comedy. None of that Brian Callen shit. Let's play Cedric Entertainer's version of it. Let's play Cedric Entertainer's version of the joke, the one that Katt Williams says he stole from him.
72 deuce and a quarter, nigga. We get us a cigarette, nigga. We be in a space shuttle, nigga, like it's a 72 deuce, nigga. We get us.
Oh my god, it's so fucking blatant. You know what makes it worse? If you're not watching this and you're listening via the audio version of the podcast, please make sure that you watch the video version of this because you won't see it. But if you listen to this via the audio version, one of the most telling parts about why this is clearly a theft is that the footage of Katt Williams performing the joke, even though it's filmed on a janky camera at a TV, it's clear that it was filmed in different years. You can tell by the fashion. You can tell that Katt Williams' joke was filmed before Cedric the Entertainer did it. That's the clear and obvious version of how it's fucking been jacked. The quality of the camera, the outfits they're wearing, the colors and shit, you can definitely tell that Katt Williams did that joke first. It's fucking crazy. And the funny thing about it also is this. I've always said, I find joke thieves to be dumb, especially when the joke isn't that complex. Like this is don't get me wrong, it's a good joke, it's a good bit, right? About how it is, you know, when you're driving a car and you're feeling good about yourself and you jump in the car, you turn on the fucking music, people are watching you and then the car doesn't start. But it's pretty basic still. If you need to steal this joke, that probably says more about you than the comedian that made the joke, because it shows that you have no ability to make anything funny because you have to steal such an easy, almost like, you know, easy to grasp joke that most people should be able to think of themselves. And the fact that you couldn't think of it is proof that you're probably not a real comedian.
What's up, nigga?
You're the reason why.
Parallel thinking B. So clearly Cedric Entertainer stole that joke, and I love that Katt Williams has never forgave him for it, has never forgot. Always is smoke with him and Cedric, and he's always gonna keep his fucking foot on his proverbial neck, and I fucking love it, right? I fucking love it. I really, really do. And let's play one more of him ripping into fucking Cedric Entertainer. One more Katt Williams ripping into him. I fucking love when he rips into him. It's fucking brilliant. One more. Here it goes. I think this is the actual clip from the Instagram, isn't it, right? Let's play this. Bear with me a second here. Let's get it going. Why is it not loading there? I don't know. Whoopsie. Let's do it one more time. Bear with me a second as I get it to load. Big up my guy Robert Henry Poet. What you saying? He says you stole it. I never knew it until just now, but yeah. And it's funny. Cedric has been repeatedly on becoming a lazy comedian over the years. Even Steve Harvey accused him of it. Wow, that's fucking horrible. Even if Steve Harvey's accusing you of being a joke thief, then you're definitely a joke thief. Because Steve Harvey likes a lot of parallel thinking himself. Do you know what I mean? He loves a little bit of, what do you call it? Open source comedy. Oh.
When you asked him, did you steal Katt Williams' joke? Yeah. He said it don't line up. How it don't line up? He thought that I was just a no-name comedian and that he could take this joke and nobody would know.
Right.
The issue was that I had already done this particular joke.
They're calling him Cedric. Big up Gabriel. Cedric Shaw. That's brilliant. Big up Gabriel J with the fucking comment of the night. Big up Gabriel J. Cedric Shaw. That's fucking brilliant.
Joke on BET's Comic View twice.
Right.
It had done so well on BET's Comic View that they had made it part of the commercial. So part of the commercial of make sure you tune in to BET was you seeing me doing this joke. So this is not just a random joke. This is my very best joke, and it's my last joke, and it's my closing joke.
Okay.
1998, I'm doing this joke. It's on Comic View. Cedric comes to the Comedy Store. He watches me in the audience. He comes backstage. He tells me what a great job I did and how much he loves the joke.
That's got to hurt the most, isn't it? That probably hurts the most. Not that he stole the joke. It's the pure brazenness of it. It kind of reminds me of, what's his face? The guy with Joe Rogan, Carlos Mencia. Everyone said the same thing about him. It wasn't the fact that he stole it. It was the way that he stole the jokes, right? He would watch you perform your set, and then he perform after you because he's obviously the main headline comedian, and then he steal your joke. When obviously, because you're performing, if you're up and coming, you're performing when no one's there, then he performs after you, but he steals your joke and absolutely destroys. And now everybody thinks that joke that he stole from you is actually his. So now you can't do the joke anymore. You know, and it's the brazen nature of it, the lack of regard, the lack of respect that's really kind of cuts you. It's like, what the fuck? You don't really even care. You know what I mean? That's the thing that really hurts the most.
2 years later, he's doing that as his last joke on the Kings of Comedy. And he's doing it verbatim. He's just changed my car into a spaceship. Him and Steve had already apologized for me, so I gave him a pass for a decade. Why would you sit here and be like, I saw Katt 30 times, and Katt didn't do, as I stand before you, Shannon. I would have bust Cedric's stomach. There was nothing that would have kept me from one of these in that patch right there. Like, are you kidding me? Why would you downplay me like that? Why did I give you a pass if you were just gonna lie? Cedric sitting here telling you why he ain't a movie star. He over here look like a walrus. You didn't say nothing. He can't even get his arms off his stomach sitting over here. Why I'm not a movie star. What?
He's saying you look a walrus. Honestly, he's too much, man. He's too much. And you know what's funny? Shannon Sharp said after the fact that it was such an awkward position to be in because he knows everybody. So that's what Shannon Sharp said afterwards. Everybody that Katt Williams was destroying, he knows them on a personal level. Like they, they have each other's phone numbers and stuff. They maybe hang out, but they're cordial. Like, they're cool. So he was in a weird position because this guy's just ripping into all of his quote unquote friends, and there's nothing he can do. He just has to, stay neutral and let him say his piece. But I love him so much.
It's a situation.
He never wrote anything. Remember, when Cedric the Entertainer starts, he's supposed
Yeah, I love Koila. You hate Shannon Sharp, innit? Koila hates Shannon Sharp. He's a bootlicker. You hate him so much. I don't mind him. He's kind of like, I love the description of him online. A lot of people say like he doesn't like women, but not like he's gay, but like he just doesn't like women. Like some of these opinions he has, being a 55-year-old, nearly 60-year-old man, is so bizarre. He has such a weird disdain for the opposite sex. Like he hates like them having an opinion. He hates them having views or wanting his time. I don't know. He's such a bizarre guy, but I love that someone said online that Shannon Sharp doesn't like women. Not that he's gay, but that he just doesn't like women, He enjoys their company, maybe in a sexual way, but he just doesn't like women as people. It's so funny.
to be singing, dancing, and telling jokes. That's why he's called the Entertainer.
Right.
We found out he can't sing, can't dance, and doesn't write jokes. He did 4 comedy specials. They're so bad, Shannon, they're not available on Netflix or Tubi. Can I say that again for the audience? They're so bad that they're not available on Netflix or Tubi.
Tubi catching strays. Tubi catching strays for no reason. Yeah, no, available on Netflix or Tubi. Cedric Entertainer betted himself like Brendan, and it didn't work. He bet on himself, and it didn't work.
You don't think Ced's a good comedian?
The world doesn't think that, sir. I have 12 comedies.
The world doesn't think that.
Specials. He has 4 specials that are not available on Netflix or Tubi. And this is the age of truth, and the truth doesn't need to be scared of the fact that people tell lies. Katt's on drugs. Where are the stories? Why is there no story of anybody who ever sold a drug to me, did a drug with me, was around me when I was inebriated? I got 5 daughters. I got 5 sons. Why would we tell these ridiculous stories? Because it's competition.
Now, I'm reading Katt Williams won Cedric the Entertainer's and Anheuser-Busch Best Los Angeles Comic Award. Did you win that award, won Katt Williams? It's a simple yes or no. It's not a rhetorical question.
It's a question that probably should have been asked to Cedric the Entertainer.
I'm asking you. I got you here, though.
I know. I couldn't believe Cedric didn't get asked that question.
He's such a cunt. He's such a cunt.
You still a dude's joking and giving an award, and then 10 years later you don't know nothing about it. Hey, but I promise you this.
What?
If he sees me again before he sees you, he'll be talking different when you see him. That's for certain. That's the difference. That's what these comics understand, is that I'm not doing nothing for clout. I don't even recognize clout. But eventually the Lord is going to let me and you be in one hallway. A lot of these dudes go.
But you did win the award. How did the award help your career? It had to help some, Katt.
Nope.
God, come on, Katt.
I didn't remember it happened till you just said it. How can Cedric give you an award that was worth something? Everything Cedric and Ricky Smiley ever been in got canceled for not being funny.
Honestly, he woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I swear to God, he's went just absolutely crazy flamethrower, man. It's just absolutely brutal. Oh my God, bro. Oh my God. Absolute savage. Absolute flipping savage. You gotta love Katt Williams. You really have to love everything about Katt Williams. And to make him even better, right? Talking about Katt Williams not recognizing clout. Where's this flipping tweet I've got somewhere? Bear with me a second here. Look at this. Look at these stories. Look at these stories about Katt Williams not recognizing clout. I believe him. I believe all these stories. Look at this story. Look at this flipping story. I believe everything about Katt Williams. He is exactly who he says he is, right? Look at this random account somebody posted on Facebook of all places. When people are posting these comments on Facebook, you know them to be true because there's a whole different demographic that exists on Facebook, mostly like older folks, right? So this whole conversation around Katt Williams talking about how he gives back and stuff and how he doesn't like to talk about it and he's always trying to help out comedians. I think there's a particular clip where he just talks about, you know, how he goes out of his way to put money in comedians' pockets because he knows how hard it is to be hurting and not have somebody look out for you. Look at all these people leaving testimonials about meeting actual Katt Williams in real life and what he did for them. Look at this. This person called Tay Gordon, right, on Facebook posted this. A few years ago, I opened up for Katt Williams at the Leah Cross opening spot. I'm to be paid $700. I go through, I do my time, I rock out, I think. After my performance, they come to me and they say Katt Williams wants to speak to you. I go to his green room and he gives me £1 with the money in my hand. We hug, exchange pleasantries. He says, I see you still killing it. I say thank you and I thank you for the opportunity. I bounce. Watch the rest of the show. I never counted the money because 1, I thought that it would be rude to do it in Katt's face, and 2, I figured it was $700. He's good for it. So me and Cupcake, I guess that's his girlfriend or somebody else called Cupcake, slide to David's in Chinatown for some salt and pepper shrimp. I go to pay, reach in my pocket, pull out the pay from the handshake from Katt. It's $2,500. This is a true story. So this is what he's doing without preaching about it or without talking about it in public. He's going out of his way to basically double, triple the pay of some fucking performers and comedians that are playing before him. So he's doing a show, they've got an opening act there, he knows what it is to struggle, right? He knows what it is to flip and be an opening act, because I've heard people say it before in terms of stand-up comedy. I'm sure Robert Henry Poet can say the same thing about how hard it is to go from being an open micer to actually getting some gigs in comedy clubs, and then to actually go to a position where it's actually paying well, where it's actually maybe able to afford your rent or whatever it may be. It can be really difficult. Sometimes you're literally, you know, rubbing pennies together. So to be performing for somebody like a Katt Williams and get paid what you're meant to get paid, but then open your fucking wallet and open the fucking wad of cash that you got and count it and realize he actually overpaid you 3 times of what you actually were meant to get. And you know what that does? That usually, for most decent people, will make you want to pay that back. That's what happens. That's what happened to me. If I did something for somebody, or if I did a job and somebody went out of their way to overpay me, most likely when I get in a position where I'm earning some money, I'm going to make sure that I pay them back. And I feel like that's a great way to, if anything, really change the culture around the thing that you do, especially most likely, I'd imagine, in this situation, Katt Williams was probably, you know, I'd imagine he's probably like this because there was a situation that he was in when he was coming up in comedy where he was struggling, where maybe you're performing on a show and, you know, the comedian before you gets paid a lot, you don't get paid a lot, and then you have to maybe go back home, you know, on the fucking bus, or you have to sleep on a fucking bench and shit. And then what you do is that you make sure that you kind of correct course when you get in position. So that is what it does. So that's a really cool and inspiring story. But then there's another account here of how amazing Katt Williams is from this other person. Look at this other guy, right? This white dude here. He says the following on his page. This guy called Richie Redding. Richie Redding says, years ago, I got a last minute call to open up for Katt Williams in Philly. He wasn't there yet when I got on. It was one of the best sets of my life, and at the point, but I was bummed because he wasn't there to see it. On my way to the dressing room, a dude in a fur coat stepped out of the shadows and said, young man, that was absolutely stupendous. And he shook my hand and with a wad of cash, which felt like way more than the show was paying for me. I played it cool, thanked him, but I really needed some money at the point. Turned out it was 5 times more. 5 times more. As he walked away, he said, I'll have you on the road, and that's my word. I got a call the next month, and I did 116 shows with him over the next 3 years, and it was all love. So what I'm saying is talk that shit, Katt. So this guy randomly did an opening set for fucking Katt Williams. Opening set randomly, right? And Katt Williams ended up paying him 5 times more than what he was meant to get paid. And then he put more money in his pocket by taking him on the road to do 160 shows. That's when you know somebody's a good dude. Yeah, he talks all his shit. Yeah, he might be a bit of a hater with to some other comedians, but this is what he does when people are not watching. And this, I think, is a marker of an actual decent person. What are you doing to people? What are you doing for people? How are you giving back when no one's watching, right? You're in some like, you know, minor town or some not so popular town in Philly, some show that not many people care about unless they're there, with a comedian that's not really that well known. But what are you doing for them outside of that? And that's obviously the type of thing that you like to see from people, and I fucking love it. I really fucking love it. Honestly, really do. Great to see. Big up Katt Williams for being an absolute legend and always giving back to people. You love to fucking see it. You love to bloody see it. Okay? That's what you love to do. You love to see it.